this is going to be a few problems in section 5.4, which we had today. Before we start 5.4, we need to know a few rules. So these are our basic rules for logarithms. We have the product property, which says if you're multiplying two numbers, you can separate them into the sum of two different logarithms. Division would be subtracting. Power rule, we take that power off the top and bring it down to the front. K times the log base b of m. The log base b of 1, no matter what your base is, if it's the log of 1, it's always going to be 0. If these two are the same, then your answer is always going to be 1. Anytime these are the same and you have an exponent, it will always equal your exponent. And then same thing here, it'd be a k. And these b's could be 5s or 3s or anything like that. B has to be a number greater than 1. M, N, and K and all of these problems can be any real numbers, but M and N have to be positive numbers. So that's going to help us as we solve these problems today. So what I want to do is I want to go through some of the problems that you have or similar ones. I know that you're going to do page 433, 5 to 75, multiples of 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick some in that section that are similar. So let's say we were to do problem number 1, which is the log base 3 of 81 times 27. All right, and they want it, the directions say express as a sum of logarithms. So I'm just going to write it as two separate logs, and it would be log base 3 of 81 plus log base 3 of 27. And the answers, if I were to type this in my calculator and get an answer, and this in my calculator and get an answer, I get the same answer. All right, number 2, log base 2, same thing, 8 times 64 would be log base 2 of 8 plus log base 2 of 64. I could have some, like all of those seem to be multiplying. Number 7 is a natural log. Natural log of xy would be natural log of x plus the natural log of y. And all of these, if we go back to our review, our rules, all of these deal with rule 1. The next thing say express as a product. So these were all using, actually it's going to be using rule 3, where they're written like this, and we're going to write it as a product. So like if I were to do number 9, number 9 says the log base b of t cubed, and we'll take this 3 off and move it to the front. So that would be 3 times the log base b of t. Number 11 wants to know what is the log of y to the 8th. Take this off, move it to the front. It would just be 8 times the log of y. They didn't have a base. We know it would be 10, but if they don't write it, you don't have to write it. You could write a 10 if you wanted to for the base. One that might be a little bit harder is number 16. It's the natural log of the square root of a. What you would want to do is first write that with an exponent. Square root is the same thing as 1/2. Cube root would be 1/3, and so on. So I'm going to take this half off, move it to the front. It's 1/2 times the natural log of a. The next set wants you to write it as a difference. So that's using rule 2, where we take a division problem and write it as a difference. So if we look, problem number 17 says what is the log base t of m divided by 8? That would be the log base t of m minus the log base t of 8. That's how you do that set of problems. Now then we get to some like 23 through 34 where there's a whole lot of stuff going on. So let's look at 23 first of all. And they want you to separate it into sums and differences. So 23 has log base a of 6, x, y to the 5th, and z to the 4th. Oh, that's an extra little mark there. So that would be the log base a of 6. And since it's times, I'm going to put plus the log base a of x plus, since I have y to the 5th, I'm going to bring the 5 to the front, 5 log base a of y, and then another plus, since I have a 4 for the exponent, that would come to the front, 4 log base a of z. So now I have written that. It's kind of expanding it, and then they're going to give you some they're going to want you to condense, but for now, that's expanding that. You do have some that use roots, like for instance problem 34. They want you to write this big problem as a sum and difference. Now, what I would do first in this problem is I would simplify it, which would be log base a of the square root of, this would be, if I had an a to the 6th on the top and an a to the 2nd on the bottom, that'd be an a to the 4th. And for the b's, that'd be a b to the 3rd. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's different variables, an a, a b, a c, and a d, and you couldn't do that. You'd have to write them separately. But in this one, it's simplified a little bit. So really that's a to the 4th and b cubed to the 1/2, which would be log base a, I wrote it looked like a g, of a to, if I have a 4 and then a 1/2, that's going to be squared. If I have a cubed and a 1/2, that's going to be a 3/2. I can't really do anything with that. So I am going to bring the 2 to the front, 2 log base a of a, plus, I'm going to bring the 3/2 to the front, log base a of b. Now, we have a rule. When these are the same, log base a of a is 1. So that's going to be 2 times 1, or 2, plus 3/2 log base a of b. That was a complicated one. Lots of steps in that one. But basically, it's simplify it, then figure out what your power would be using your power properties, bring it to the front, and don't forget when you have the same letters that simplifies. It doesn't here because it's an A and a B. All right. The next set asks you to combine and write as a single logarithm. So look at problem. I'm going to skip down to some of the tougher ones. Look at 47. The log of x squared minus 5x minus 14 says, if possible, simplify. Minus the log of x squared minus 4. So I'm going to write it as a single logarithm. On the top, I'm going to put x squared minus 5x minus 14. And on the bottom, I'm going to have x squared minus 4. Now here's the deal. These are quadratics. They factor. So I'm going to go ahead and factor those. The top would be x minus 5 times x plus 2. That's how you factor x squared minus 5x minus 14. And the bottom would be x plus 2 and x minus 2. So really, these two factors are the same, so they cancel out. So my answer is going to be log of x minus 5 on the top and x minus 2 on the bottom. And that's simplified for 47. I'm going to stop there with this video and take a look at some more with this section in a later video.